What's going on, guys? It's Fight Season MMA, and today I want to make a video talking about why is the UFC judging so bad recently. We had the decision at UFC 305 between Jairzinho Rozenstruik and Tai Tuivasa, where one judge scored that fight, or scored a round to Tai Tuivasa, and then he was laid off of his job for the rest of the night because that scorecard was so bad. But you look at these scorecards prior, you look at Sandhagen versus Vera, someone gave Vera a fight there, and there's so many different scorecards in the UFC that truly scratch your head as some of the worst we've ever seen. But I just kind of want to talk about why is the judging so bad recently and what are different ways that we could possibly make it better. There is different things in boxing to where scorecards are super subjective in the boxing realm, which makes it super weird. One judge can score the fight one way and the other judge can score the fight a completely opposite way, and due to the criteria of boxing judging, it can be completely subjective. But I just want to talk about the UFC judging because it is a little bit different than boxing. If you guys enjoy the UFC content, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. That is the best way to help the channel grow. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so please go down there and smash the subscribe button. 97.2% of my viewers who watch the episodes are not subscribed, so please don't be one of those 97.2% and be one of the others who are subscribed. But let's jump right into the video of why UFC judging is so bad and how we can fix it. Okay, so first, before we try to fix UFC judging, we have to score it or understand the basis of how a fight is scored. And it is scored off a criteria of damage and effective grappling and dominant positions. If we go off first of damage, how a fighter reacts to a different strike could 100% dictate of how the fight is going to go. So say I would hit someone with a punch and they have no reaction, that would be a very minimal effect upon the round. But someone hits me and I get knocked down, I look disoriented, and I have a massive, just don't know where I am. That would be a heavy strike in the round, and that is something that a judge could score upon in the fight. It's not really necessarily an accumulation of punches. Now, yes, Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar was both an accumulation or just a masterclass of fighting. But usually it's just a fight to where accumulation doesn't do anything, where power is the big thing that judges look for. So first off, it's going to be the effective damaging and reactions to strikes. Next part is going to be effective grappling. Effective grappling is one of those things to where it's not just taking someone down and not doing anything with it. It would be enacting specific submission attempts to get your opponent to tap. So like a calf slicer, a rear naked choke, a triangle choke, something like that would be able to be considered in the effective grappling department. And yes, control time would be in there as well. If you get mounts or side control or north-south, something like that would definitely be in there, but it doesn't have as big of an effect as as a submission attempt, which would be getting your opponent to get, out of there quicker because you are putting them in a very uncomfortable position. But I guess then we'll go to octagon and control time and perceived nature of aggressiveness and stuff like that. That is also considered. If someone is on the back foot the entire time, it's going to be perceived as the other fighter is pressuring more. It's going to be just a subconscious scoring for them in the round. Not saying that this is a massive thing, because this is only slightly considered. If the fight is really close, you go down the scoring lines of how it can definitely be judged. But like I said, first it is damaging strikes, and then it's effective grappling, and then kind of controlled time and aggressiveness and different stuff like that. But how can the judges really perfect and fine tweak this? I just feel like that there should be more judges. There should also be a higher score criteria. Right now, the UFC judging is out of 10 points, and that is kind of in the boxing realm. I feel like there's a lot of different ways to score a fight that just isn't 10 points. How can someone win a fight in a very dominant fashion and only go from 10 to 9, but then almost kill them and only go 10 to 8? There's got to be a little bit more different subjectivity in there. Possibly you could do a thing out of 100, which would give a lot more subjectivity, but also that would take away from the regular MMA scoring style that we have been subjective to. Now, the other thing that would be really good is you do more judges, and that would kind of fine-tune the different scoring criteria in this thing. So you look at this fight between the most recent scoring judged problem we had was at UFC 305 at Tai Tuivasa versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik, where Jairzinho Rozenstruik won that fight 30-27 handily, no doubt in my mind. And one judge scored it 30-27 to Tai Tuivasa in something that shocked the entire MMA community. And like I said, he was laid off of his duties for the rest of the night in the UFC 305 arena. But It was just absolutely crazy. And having more judges would then allow the UFC to really escape that problem, because Jairzinho Rozenstruik almost lost his spot and would have to fight down in the rankings rather than up. He also lost his money and also just caused him a lot of harm rather than hurt after a great performance against Tai Tuivasa at UFC 305. So truly, there needs to be either more judges or a different scoring criteria, possibly out of 100. Now, the other thing that you could possibly implement is a fan scoring standpoint. Now, this would be very biased in some standpoints because the McGregor stands and the fighters who have a lot more fans couldn't see a fighter truly lose. So what you could possibly do is get MMA critics and different things like that who you would know to be non-biased to then have a cumulative score at home. I feel like sitting octagon side is super subjective, considering that you only see different angles and different things like that compared to when you're at home. And yes, I know some of the commentators have screens in front of them, and I hope the judges have that, because if you're looking at the fight just subjectively through just the cage and whatnot, that's going to be very hard to score it. But genuinely, if you had a fan implemented fight scoring at home, it would be very, very, very interesting to see not only how biased the results would be, but also the different scoring criteria if they were met correctly. Ultimately, there's no specific way to fix the judging criteria and scoring criteria in some of these fights, and a lot of these different fights that happen at different events really are costing fighters opportunities. We look at the Paddy Pimblett, Jared Gordon scoring, the infamous scoring at UFC 282, where Paddy Pimblett ultimately beat Jared Gordon, but that was definitely not the correct decision. There's just a lot of different things that can cost fighters opportunities within the sport. There's different judges who kind of have enough leeway to necessarily score something because it's off a it's off a subjective field, but they could possibly implement AI. They could possibly implement more judges. They could possibly implement more fan scoring. They could possibly implement a higher scoring criteria to truly do it off of more different things, possibly like more strikes. Do it out of 100 instead of 10, which would be able to have a bigger or have a more adjustable scoring criteria in that fight. But that is ultimately my way of fixing the judging scoring criteria. Currently, there is no just clear-cut answer on doing so. I think currently it's going to stay as the 10, 9, 8, 7 system for the longest time, and I think they're going to keep 3 judges. I think the easiest way to fix the scoring criteria right now is add more judges, but I do think that would get a little bit harder, and to possibly just do something that the UFC wouldn't want to do. So I think that kind of staying with the system right now is just the way to keep the originality, or not the originality, but the originality of the organization as a whole, keeping that system throughout the entire career. But that is just the way that I'm thinking it, and not the way that it should be done. It's just my opinion, and please go leave a comment down below if you think that this is a way that you think could possibly fix the judging scoring criteria. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fights is MMA, and please let me know down in the comments below, like I said, what you think about this video, what you think you could do to fix the judging criteria yourself. And because it is a massive problem in the UFC, fighters are losing opportunities, money, and different chances to go out and become champion because of poor judging recently in the organization. Some fights, like I said, Sandhagen versus Vera, Pimblett versus Gordon, Rozenstruik versus Tuivasa, some fights like that truly are losing different opportunities because of fighting style. And you look at some even close fights like Strickland versus Duplessis, that having so much on the line at the UFC 297 for the middleweight title, having more judges to get an accurate scoring could be a better way to do it, because that was an incredibly subjective fight after. So many people thought Sean Strickland won, and so many people thought Dricus Du Plessis won, and only having 3 judges to decide the middleweight title is very, very hard to go behind. But thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fights is MMA, and please leave a comment down below, like I said. Also, leave a like and turn on post notifications just so you guys are always notified when I drop content. And also, please go hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and it would mean so much if you guys did so. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Fights is MMA, and I will catch you guys very soon with more UFC content and news.